Bryant with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with another check-in and an update on the 2022-23 NBA MVP race for that Michael Jordan, that newly named Michael Jordan MVP trophy. The real news of this video is going to be that, initially I threw a big cast net out there. This is about maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And I said there was 13 legitimate candidates for MVP. And then I had 3 guys on the outside looking in. All 3 guys on the outside looking in, I think, are squarely, we can eliminate them from the equation. I don't think they have any chance from this point forward probably to win the MVP, barring something just drastically unforeseen, some insane statistical run, or their team would win, 28 out of 30 games or something just off the charts preposterous. That was Damian Lillard, Paul George, and Pascal Siakam. Paul George is just kind of trudging along doing his thing, and the Clippers are a good team in the West. He's not getting a lot of buzz. I don't really have him in my top 9. Siakam is putting up thrilling numbers, all NBA type numbers, but his team is a disaster right now, and there's a lot of talk that they're going to make some trades. The Raptors are going to make some moves maybe towards the deadline and maybe blow the whole thing up. They're still trying to figure that situation out. But Siakam has done his thing. But again, team success will eliminate him. Damian Lillard, same deal. I just don't know if he's going to he missed a decent chunk of games, and I just don't know how he could vault his way into this conversation, barring some preposterous, unforeseen run by the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, right now the Trailblazers are in 8th. They're 18-16, so they're over 500. They're only 4 out of 1st. So again, it's a little early to just like cast off, Paul George and Lillard, because if their teams win their conference, they're the best player on the best team. And so that's always at least going to be a consideration for MVP. The problem with Lillard is his numbers are not in the same category as some of these other guys we're looking at. So we're going to eliminate those 3 guys pretty much entirely for the purpose of this video today. So no Lillard, no George, no Siakam. There was 4 players that were squarely in the big cast net, the pool, the MVP pool, if you will, of who I thought had a chance at this year's MVP award. And 4 of those guys have dropped off, and I don't think there's really much argument to it. Steph has missed too much time. I don't think his team is good enough. I don't think he's going to win the West. I can't imagine a 5th or 6th place Warriors team with Steph's numbers, Steph getting the MVP. There's just too many other superlative, superior statistical players that are vying for this MVP award. I'm going to permanently eliminate Steph Curry from this MVP race. Let me know in the comments if I'm crazy. Anthony Davis is out. He's out at least a month. Indefinitely is kind of what I'm hearing now. There may be, we may in 2 weeks get some kind of report he's out another month to be reevaluated, or they just shut him down for the season. I think there's a lot more to that story than is being shared with us. I'm going to eliminate him because nobody this season is going to miss a month and win an MVP award. It's just not going to happen. There's too many other viable candidates that are putting up historic type numbers and having team success as well. The team success eliminates AD. Missing too many games eliminates AD. Team success eliminates Steph Curry. Missing too many games eliminates Steph Curry. I've got Booker out. He's going to no longer be in the MVP conversations in these videos that I record because he's going to miss a month. And then Booker was sort of on the outside looking in to begin with. Good team, great team. They could win the West theoretically, I guess, because it's so bunched up and they won the West before, and he would be the best player on the best team, but he's out for a month. There's no way, just too many games missed. And so AD, Steph, Booker out. SGA is also out. Again, he's cooled off a little bit, right? A little bit. He's still putting up great numbers. He's cooled off a little bit. But their team is terrible. And so he's got no chance either. So those 4 guys, AD, SGA, Steph, and Booker are also out, along with Lillard, Paul George, and Siakam. So let's talk about the guys that are in the mix. And we'll start with, I've got a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then tied for 4th. Let's talk about the guys that are not in that mix right now. First is Zion. Zion is pushing forward. He had an incredible finish to that Timberwolves game the other night. I actually went down there with my son to watch that Timberwolves game. And Zion had a monstrous second half and had probably maybe the best game of his entire career in a big-time win over the Timberwolves. He's just on the outside looking in. He's not in my top 5. Again, is this sustainable? The Pelicans are in first place in the West right now, I believe. Let me double check here. Yeah, they are tied for first with the Denver Nuggets. So Zion is squarely in the conversation. Team success is a must for him. and he is clearly the best player on the best team. And they're doing this, and they went on this insane run without Brandon Ingram, who's missed an inordinate amount of games with a questionable bruised toe. Every game, questionable bruised toe, questionable toe contusion. My understanding is, from talking to a good friend of mine who reports for that team and is an affiliate with ESPN, is that it is actually like turf toe, basketball's version of turf toe. So Zion is doing all this without Brandon Ingram. Also on the outside looking in, I say on the outside looking in, meaning they're right there. They're just not in my top five, and that is Spider Mitchell. The Cavs are a scary team in the East. Spider Mitchell's kind of in the same spot as Zion. They almost have to win their conference because their numbers aren't quite, and look, they are insane numbers, but they're just not quite on the level of the guys that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've also got Joel Embiid and John Morant just on the outside of the top five looking in. Again, I'm not eliminating these guys. These guys are, well, I've got eyes set squarely on them. Embiid's dropped 50 twice this year. It's hard to believe that a guy drops 50 twice in about a 2-week period, and it's just swept under the rug because Jokic went 46, 15, and 15. Doncic went 60, 21, and 10, and then followed it up with a triple-double last night. Giannis goes 45 and 22 and has a bad game. And so it's hard to believe we're seeing these type of stat lines across the board. It's like going back to the 90s when Jordan would put up crazy stat lines along with Olajuwon and David Robinson and Shaq and all those guys. So we're in that. We're just in a golden era right now where who would have thought this deep into the season we'd be talking about 10 guys that are still vying for that MVP award, and none of them can be eliminated. So I've got it down to 9. So the 4 that are outside looking in is Zion, Spider Mitchell, Embiid, and Morant, which gets us to our top 5. First, let's start. I've got 2 guys tied for 4th because I can't figure out who belongs where, and that is KD and Giannis. So just looking at their teams first, let's get over here and let me see if I can screen share with you guys. So just looking at their teams over here in the Eastern Conference, for a while there, it looked like it was a clear, two horse race in the East, right? It was the Celtics and the Bucks. Well, not so fast, my friend. The Nets have won 10 in a row. The Celtics are back on a winning streak and have won 4 in a row, but they're only 5-5 in their last 10 because they were 1-5 in their 6 games before they went on this 4-game winning streak. The Bucks lost 4 in a row. The Cavs lost 4 in a row, so that brings them back to the pack, and that brings in the Sixers and the Cavaliers, who are also on losing streaks, but the Sixers went on a huge winning streak, and they've won 8 out of their last 10 games. So despite the fact they lost their last game, they won 8 out of 10, and so they're right there, 4.5 out of first. The Celtics, I don't think are going to be able to separate. I think these teams behind them are just too damn good, and I'll say this, despite Robert Williams, other than notwithstanding Robert Williams, the Celtics have been pretty damn healthy. I mean, really healthy. Jaylen Brown, Brogdon, Derek White, Jason Tatum, obviously. Horford just kind of is in and out, but he's a piece, right? He's not a vital cog. He's a piece. And then Marcus Smart. Those guys have been preposterously healthy start to finish, and so that's a big deal. You got to remember the Bucks are playing without 2 All-Stars. We're talking about their best scorer, their fourth quarter, their best ISO scorer, their fourth quarter closer, and their true, point guard who's one of the best defenders in the league, Drew Holiday. Drew's in and out. Middleton has not been anything. I don't know what's going on with that knee swelling. That really concerns me. But if they're healthy, I don't think they're 23-12. I think you may be looking at the Bucks in first place. And then you've got, the Nets that are just on fire. They're just now starting to click, and they're just now getting Seth Curry and Joe Harris back healthy. So Nets have been relatively healthy. Ben Simmons is kind of picking up a little steam, not in the scoring column, but he's sort of figuring out his role and being helpful, and at least he's showing up and playing. And then the Sixers are on fire, like we talked about. So I've got Giannis and KD tied for 4th. I can't distinguish between those two. The PER list, and I've got Hollinger's PER rankings pulled up. Again, we eliminated Anthony Davis, but Giannis is 5th. Kevin Durant is 7th. Their PERs are 28.12 and 26.8 respectively. Not much difference there. Statistically speaking, they are doing their thing, but they're doing it in different ways. Giannis has actually dipped in almost every statistical category from years prior. And part of that, as I've said before, is I think he's having to do too much. So Giannis and Durant are right there at my 4-5. If one of those teams can kind of separate and win the East by 5 or 6 games, that vaults those guys up into the top 3 probably, because they're not exactly on the same page as 1, 2, 3 statistically, but they're right behind them, on the cusp, right behind them, and anybody can get hot. So you never know. And so that leaves us with my 1, 2, and 3. And right now, that number 3 is Luka Doncic. And I know you guys are going to be like, holy crap, how is Luka Doncic third on your list? And it's really simple. His team doesn't have as good a record as the other 2 guys whose teams are leading the East and the West respectively. So I've got Jokic 1, I've got Jason Tatum 2, and I've got Doncic 3. If we go look at the standings, as we said, Tatum's team is in first, and Jokic's team is tied for first. Now, here's the deal. Jokic is insane on a whole another level as far as PER goes. He and Doncic are kind of interchangeable. Anthony Davis is right there. Tatum's team is winning the East, and Tatum's having a great season, but he's not doing it at quite the same efficient clip. I mean, he's behind guys such as Jimmy Butler, SGA. He's right there with Zion. Just a notch above Siakam. So Tatum's having a great season. Don't get me wrong. Huge step forward. Huge step forward in efficiency for him. But to get to the level that Doncic and Jokic are playing is a whole nother world. And so really the only thing that separates, and I could be convinced to flip-flop Doncic and Tatum, because Doncic and the Mavericks now, they went on a big winning streak, and I think what if they won, like 4 in a row or something? Hang on, where are we? Mavericks have won 5 in a row now, 7 out of their last 10, and they're only 3 games out of first. So if they somehow could push their way into first, I don't know what's going on. I have never seen a team so dependent on an NBA player in my entire life. And I'm including those crappy LeBron Cavs teams and those ridiculous Houston teams where Harden dribbled the air out of the ball. This is the most I've ever seen the ball and decisions in one person's hands for an entire game, start to finish, and almost primarily in a half-court situation. They are the slowest paced team in the NBA. They do not run the ball. They do not want to run the ball. They need to play slow because they need as many possessions as possible with Doncic on the floor. If they got up and down and run and gun and did those things, and you would think they would because they're a relatively small team, at least interior they're relatively small. Well, Christian Wood's not really a true big. Dwight Powell's not really a true big. Maxi Kleber's definitely a pick and pop, not a true big. You would think those small teams, would want to run back and forth. Now they've got good size across the board, but they want to slow it down as much as possible. Doncic is a puppet master like I've never seen. I've never seen basketball played the way it's being played now, with Doncic having the ball so much and orchestrating the offense to such an extent. I mean, these other guys, I can't stress enough how much worse Doncic's supporting cast is than even Jokic and Tatum and Giannis and Durant. I mean, he would kill to have their betas and their 3rd, 4th, and 5th best players on his team, and he just doesn't have that. And you can say Spencer Dinwiddie, you can say Christian Wood, I get it, but I mean, a lot of these other guys are just catch and shoots. I mean, Brunson would be the 2nd best player on that team, and he's probably the 2nd best player on the Knicks right now behind Julius Randle. But they're missing Brunson, but they're only 3 games back. So that's my 1, 2, 3. Going back to the PER, it's just, what Jokic and Doncic are doing statistically is just completely on another level. So what Doncic needs is team success. He needs that team to jump up in there. If they finish 3rd, 4th, and he's put up numbers like this, I think Doncic probably will get the nod from the voters because you guys know there's going to be this bias where they don't want to give the award 3 times in a row to Nikola Jokic. They just don't. He had to overcome a bias last year like Giannis did 2 years before that just to get it 2 years in a row. 3 years in a row does not happen often. Bird was the last one that did it, and it was like 35 or 40 years ago or something crazy like that. It was just a really long time ago. They don't like doing it. And so if Doncic can just hang close statistically. He doesn't have to be quite on the same level as Jokic, even though they're what and what right now, as we say down here in South Louisiana. If he can just stay close statistically and their team can push and finish in the top 3 or 4, I think Doncic gets the nod in the West. Now, again, we got to wait and see what Tatum and Mitchell and Giannis and Durant do. But as far as this Western Conference, I think statistically Jokic and Doncic are head and shoulders better than a Zion, a Morant. We've eliminated the injured guys, the Booker, the Currys, and the ADs. That knocks 3 completely out. SGA's team is terrible. He can't do it, and he can't keep up statistically, even though he's been pretty damn nasty this season. So those 2 guys statistically are in the driver's seat. Tatum's got a big hill to overcome here. He had the narrative. He was the darling of the MVP talk going into the season, along with Doncic. The world, or at least the media, wanted Doncic and Tatum to be in this conversation. They've done nothing to disappoint, right? And it was a nice prognostication by the media for once. But the problem is Tatum is 11th in PER. I would have to do some research, and maybe some of you guys know, I would have to go look and see the last time anybody who was not top 10 in PER won the MVP. I probably could have done that research before I hit the record button, but I'm a betting man. I bet it's never happened. That's how much I'm going to go out on a limb. At least not in the last 20, 25 years when people started to care about efficiency, right? It used to just be points, rebounds, assists. Well, the world's changed a little bit. Voters have become more savvy. They pay more attention to efficiency, on offense and the defensive end. Jokic and Doncic are not great defenders, and Tatum is, so he's got that benefit. It's just fascinating right now how close this race is, not just between those three guys, but we're 9 deep, okay? We're 9 deep. We've eliminated 7. We still got 9 to go. Let me know in the comments where I'm right. Let me know in the comments where I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anybody that I'm missing that could possibly sneak into the top 9? I might be crazy, and let me pull up these standings again. I can't imagine anybody else sneaking in. Maybe you could argue you think Paul George belongs in there. Maybe you think that Booker, AD, and Steph can miss 20 games and still be an MVP candidate. I don't think they can, especially not when they're statistically inferior to guys that have not missed any games. And so injuries will dictate it. Team success will dictate it. And then the ability for Tatum to close the gap in efficiency, whether it's Tatum stepping it up even more or whether it's Doncic and Jokic coming back to the field. We'll see, man. It's going to be fascinating to watch. So thank you guys for watching as always. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby. Peace.